Hi, welcome back to Bristow Middle School Math. Our learning target today is how can you create pairs of equivalent ratios? Taking a look at a little bit more information, that important vocabulary is equivalent ratios. Our launch. The table shows votes for a new school team name. One friend says 2 grades voted the same. A second friend says the total vote for the team name was the same. Use ratios to show how both friends could be correct. Which team name should the school choose? Explain. Well, when we add up the number of votes in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for wolves, and we add up the number of votes in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for flyers, we actually do end up with them being the same. They're tied, which means there's a ratio of 1 to 1. That doesn't help us figure out which team name we should choose. But when we look at the ratio of votes in 6th grade compared to the ratio of votes in 8th grade, we actually get the same ratio. They both simplify to 2 to 1 wolves to flyers. That means that twice as many 6th graders and 8th graders voted for wolves over flyers. So what should we do and how should we choose a school name? Since twice as many students voted for wolves in 2 grade levels, the new school team name should be Wolves. Our key concepts. You can find equivalent ratios by multiplying or dividing each term in the ratio by the same non-zero number. So if we're taking a look at the red squares and we divide that by 2, from our ratio of 2 to 6, we get from 6 to 3. Then when we look at the blue circles and we divide it by 2, we go from 2 to 1. So we divided both terms, 2 and 6, by the same number to create an equivalent ratio. Then we did the same thing with multiplication. We multiplied the blue circles by 2, and we got 4 blue circles. We multiplied the red squares by 2 and got 12 red squares. Since we multiplied both terms, 2 and 6, by 2, we got an equivalent ratio of 4 to 12. So completing a chart, another way to call this is a table of equivalent ratios. Volunteer at animal shelter recorded the ratio of the number of dogs adopted to the number of cats adopted each month. She finds all the ratios are equivalent. Complete the table. So the only information we have all together is the ratio of dogs to cats in January. So we have to use the relationship between the number of dogs in January and the number of dogs in February to be able to figure out the relationship between the cats in January and February. So what we do is we multiply, it's multiplication because when we go from 4 to 8, we're getting bigger, which means we're multiplying. So we're going to multiply both 4 and 5. 4 times 2 is 8, so we do 5 times 2 is 10. So in January, there was a ratio of 4 to 5 dogs to cats. And in February, it was 8 to 10. So 8 dogs were adopted in February and in January. I know it says February, but they mean January. Oh, no, they're right, in February. And then 10 dogs were adopted in February. Cats. Sorry, guys. So then we look at the number of dogs and cats adopted in March. So we again look at the relationship between the number of dogs in January to the number of dogs in March. It's getting bigger, so that's multiplication. We're going to multiply both sides, and we look at the relationship between 4 and 12. 4 times 3 is 12. So if we multiply 4 times 3, we have to multiply 5 times 3. So 12 dogs were adopted in March, and 15 cats were adopted in March. So writing a ratio equivalent to 3 to 4, we're going to multiply each term of the ratio by 2. So 6 to 8 is equivalent to 3 to 4. Any other equivalent ratios you can think of? How about if we multiplied both by 3? Think about what you would get. Finding equivalent ratios, we're still going to use a table on this one, but let's go ahead and read the problem first. You make a playlist with 6 hip-hop songs and 9 pop songs for a party. All songs play for the same length of time. Now you want to make a longer playlist and a shorter playlist. They each have an equivalent ratio of the number of hip hop songs to the number of pop songs. So, how many songs of each type can you put on your longer playlist, and how many songs of each type can you put on your shorter playlist? So, we start with our basic information. We have hip hop to pop, so 6 to 9. So, that's our original playlist. Excuse me. Now, you want to make a longer playlist. So, to make a longer playlist, we can go ahead and multiply by 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Well, if I multiply 6 times 2, I also have to multiply 9 times 2, and we get 18. Now I want to make a shorter playlist. So if I start with my original playlist of 6, I'm going to do 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. As long as I take the same original terms and multiply or divide both of these by the same number, I will create an equivalent ratio. Write 2 different ratios equivalent to 4 to 10. So you're going to take the 4 to 10 and test it against each of these pairs of ratios. Take a little bit of time and make sure you've checked them all. Let's come back. What is the answer? B, 2 to 5 and 12 to 10. It's the correct ratios because you can divide both terms in the ratio 4 to 10 by 2 to get 2 to 5. And you can multiply both terms in the ratio 4 to 10 by 3 to get 12 to 30. In summary, we can create equivalent ratios by multiplying or dividing both parts of the ratio by the same number. Until next time, keep practicing, and remember, practice makes permanent.